Nearly 2 years after the deadly crash of an Osprey aircraft, the families of 4 of the 5 U.S. Marines killed in the tragedy are suing Boeing and other manufacturing companies for negligence. The companies involved have not yet responded to requests for comment from CNN. The Marines, who were stationed at Camp Pendleton in Southern California, were on a training mission in June of 2022 when their aircraft crashed into the desert. A Marine investigation found the accident was caused by mechanical failure, that there was no error on the part of the pilots or the crew, and there was nothing they could have done to prevent it. I'm joined now by Brett Strickland. His son, Lance Corporal Evan Strickland, was killed in this crash, and Tim Loringer, the lawyer who is representing the families in this lawsuit. Brett, I'm so sorry. I know this is an especially tough time for you and your family as you're coming up here on 2 years since Evan's death. Can you tell us about what you're hoping this lawsuit can achieve? I know you've been frustrated by what you see as a lack of meaningful information about the crash.
I think what we're looking for really is just, like you said, accountability, information, and a corrective fix. It seems like the common thread is they don't know why, but they think they fixed it. And to us, that's just not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, to your point there, Tim, there's been this mandate of a new part, right? A new part, and yet the crux of the issue still seems quite foggy. You know, what is really the root of the problem here? The lawsuit alleges in part that there was a failure to warn, that this Osprey was known to have a defect, but not enough steps were taken to correct it. Tell us about that.
That's exactly the issue that the families are dealing with now. That what they're hearing from the military through their investigation is that they've made some change, but and they think that they've fixed a problem, but at the end of the day, they don't know what the root cause is. And what that does is it creates an incredible amount of insecurity and uncertainty for the families and for Marines who are operating this aircraft. They deserve to know what exactly has happened here and for corrective action to be taken. And that's what we're looking for from through this lawsuit.
Brett, there were other crashes, of course, following the one that killed your son. Then there was a recent grounding and a lifting of that grounding in March. Do you think that this plane should be flying?
I think what any of us want is just to know that when the plane is flying, that they've done their due diligence and they know why certain things work or why they don't work. The only thing we want, our why in all of this, is just to try to make sure that the men and women that fly on the Osprey are as safe as can be.
And, you know, Brett, I was reading about how people who deal with aircraft safety, and certainly defenders of the Osprey, will point to, they'll say, statistically speaking, the Osprey is a pretty safe military aircraft. But then in your case, I think people would be shocked to learn that a young Marine who brought a lot of comfort to your family in the wake of Evan's death, who was a pallbearer at his funeral, ended up going on about a year after Evan's death to also die in an Osprey crash. How do you make sense of, you know, when you hear someone defending the Osprey's safety record and then knowing that reality of what your family has experienced is?
It's not an easy one to answer, is it? I understand, you know, I mean, they love the aircraft. A lot of the air crew and the pilots, they really do love the platform. And for us, it's just a redundancy is not a redundancy when it's no longer working. And so that's the issue. For us, it hurts. That was a huge wound. It was shortly after we had received our mishap briefing. And he was like family. And so it was devastating. And the wound just was torn open again. So, I mean, I understand why they would defend it. I understand the statistics, but when you're on this side of it, the statistics really don't mean much.
Yeah, Tim, can you speak a little bit to that as well when you're looking at the statistics, but also what you think the duty is of these manufacturers and what they need to get better?
What we've learned through this investigation is that the hard clutch engagement issue that's spoken about has been known for quite a long time. The statistics look good. The number of crashes compared to the number of hours that the aircraft has been operating looks really good. But there has been this thread, this issue that they've been dealing with for years, and it hasn't been resolved. And very likely, this issue that was known years ago has developed into a bigger problem. So wear and tear on the aircraft has led to more malfunctions. And now we've seen at least one and potentially more crashes resulting from that. And of course, the investigation from the crash of the Japan aircraft has not come out yet. And we're waiting to see if there's a common thread. But we know is that this is an issue that's been dealt with for a long time, and there has not been a root cause found, and it has not been resolved as far as we can tell.
And Brett, I do want to give the final word to you. We're coming up here, obviously, on Memorial Day. I know you're going to be remembering your son. Tell us a little bit about him, someone who obviously felt so compelled to serve his country at a young age.
You know, he wise beyond his years. It's cliche to say that, but it's true. He wanted to do good. I think some of the missions he was most wanting to be a part of would be humanitarian missions. And being Memorial Day, this is actually one of the last pictures and text messages I received from him was Memorial Day of 22, a mere week before, he passed. And it was him out jet skiing, enjoying life, collecting memories, as I like to tell them. But he loved life. He loved music. He loved jazz. He was a saxophone player. He really was just a friend to everybody. And I think he liked to make everybody feel like they were important.
Yeah, I know he loved the people in his life and those most important to him, his family members and you. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about him with us and for telling us about this experience that you're going through with this lawsuit. We'll continue to follow it. Brett, thank you. Tim, thank you to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be right back.